Dip inserter.
Really?
But I don't think it would be necessarily practical to try to...
Can you trim the leads that small? Will it come up under the board that close to hit the leads?
Oh, I think so. You probably don't.
You know, I was looking at, because Universal makes a, you know, an inserter for like SIP packages and so forth. I was kind of wondering, you know, since that clinches it by the case, I was kind of wondering if that could be adapted to these. Again, you got the feeder issue, but...
Yeah, the SIPs
But
are...
it still comes from the side. It's still coming on the leads. I don't think their SIP grabs the body.
Yeah, well, I saw a picture of it and it did. You know, I had a Universal
well,
brochure.
they make. Remember the old SIPs? Not the SIPs that are on the. They don't call them.
They call them something else.
The SIPs. Remember the
zip.
Zip is the ones where the leads come out of the body on a single line,
like
single inline package.
But they're formed. Every other one's formed
really?
out to I think what is it, 100,000?
Yeah.
100,000 spacing.
Well, what I saw in the brochure is they were actually grabbing a SIP.
IBM was the big one of that.
Oh yeah.
And we've got actually we had some.
Is that a recent one you're talking
Well, I just saw it in a brochure. I don't know how recent it was.
The tape carrier on it. It comes up to a station here that actually crops that off, so you just have the lead sticking down.
I see.
And then it carries it through. Actually, this one had a verifier on it. No, it still has a verifier on it to verify the parts, components. But you're running all the same part.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. Can it check polarity on those? Would it?
It probably could check polarity.
Probably on the LEDs, it could verify. So that might be a good thing to have set up on there.
Yeah. So this pretty much goes right back in that cavity there.
Yeah, it attaches to there, and you can see the it's tied down. But you have the wheels that carry the chain that keeps it squeezed down until it gets up to the insertion head.
I see.
We got a full set of manuals with this too.
This is a full 20 stations here?
Right.
Okay. Well, actually, this thing's smaller than I kind of pictured it being. It's really not that big with just 20 stations. Huh. Well, what kind of setup time is involved in something like this, and who would we call to set it up if we wanted somebody to set it up?
Well, per job or to install it?
To install it.
I would say on a base machine, 20 station, you're probably looking at 3 days, maybe 4 days. You know, the thing is, what we like to do is, we install it, but we like to do some training at the same time so people get familiar with it, and then also we like to get it running. You know, I mean, as far as running some product through it, so get some run time before we leave, and then you call, oh, wait a minute, it's doing this. So whenever you get to that point, is to make sure that you have boards and product ready to go,
and fixtures,
and fixtures, everything ready to go before we do the install. I mean, we can get it shipped out and all that, and you guys can get it in place, but obviously not bolt it all together because we go through alignment procedure and stuff on it.
So. So what throughput does this machine have?
That's one thing I got off the phone with you. I got running on other things. I didn't look up exactly what. Like I said, on this particular one, it has the soft touch, which you can get. This model normally doesn't have it, but this one it had it on originally because again it was a later model, 91 machine.
The soft touch reduces the number of like defective insertions, or
it improves the reliability of the insertions. How it's actually doing, maybe Dave could fill you in a little bit better on that. But the other option that this, not an option, but it came out in the Radio 3 is the self-locating. The head when it fires comes out and places the component into a carrier tape. Okay, see this beveled edge there? That actually rubs up against the carrier clip, so the carrier clip will advance. This will push it and actually bring it back, the clip into alignment with where the component's coming out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to have that chain, each carrier clip dead nuts on. Let me show you. You got it.
Oh yeah.
And what the chain is spring loaded, so that when it comes into position, it has some movement to it. Okay, that allows it to line up directly with the head rather than, again, if it was fixed on there, fixed position, and the chain came around, you got to have those heads set up directly in front of each station, and those are they bolt down on a T-track. So they can be moved around some. So anyway, that saves going through and getting all the exact alignment on every cut on here. So.
Right.
And again, that's a later revision item.
That's it.
My guess is these were running 6,000 to 8,000 parts an hour, right? And that's their rated throughput, Universal's spec type of thing.
Yeah.
So your actual throughput changes depending on your board and how far apart the components are, and also the number of rotates you do, which on your board you shouldn't be rotating at all, I wouldn't think. Other than panelized, because your boards are pretty big. What we see a lot of times, if you have a smaller board and you set 4 boards on there, it can rotate around, and then the operator can actually pull off boards while it's running.
Right.
I mean, they don't suggest doing that. But I mean, operators, when they get used to the movement of the machine after sitting, doing hour after hour after hour, they know what the machine's going to do.
Right. Oh, that's not bad. Well, what are some of these other?
This is axial for doing axial components.
Oh, really?
We got an axial inserter up there. See, there's an older unit over there.
What's that up there?
That's a dual head axial inserter.
Oh, really?
So it's again an older style. They had the smaller frame on top to begin with, and they went to this bigger structure around it.
Wow.
So anyway, they have the same thing in axial where it sequences the parts and then inserts them. The next, they also had it in a standalone where you could have a sequencer and a inserter. Now, one of the sequencers, what it does is basically the same as what this would do. It would take, if you had several different components that went onto one board, it would put them in an order so you can populate one board.
Right.
This would sequences and retapes the parts out of reels of all one part. Well, you know that with your...
Yeah. Well, my Amistar actually doesn't have a sequencer, because it just has 80 stations in it. And,
well, you have, the 6448 or you have the 500? I mean, is it the benchtop unit or is it the full one? So it's a 6448.
Yeah,
it has a cabinets on either side.
6448.
So that's a sequence inserter. That does it all at once.
Yes. That's exactly what it is. It's been a while since I looked at the numbers. We hadn't started messing with it.
But anyway, the Universal had that same thing. They had it so you can either have 2 standalone or a combination in one machine. The thing is with the standalone, a sequencer could keep up with 2 inserters. So there's that advantage as opposed to
so
more
you don't
of a
have to buy 2 sequencers.
Right, and the just-in-time aspect of having it all loaded up. If you could load all your components on the machine and have enough stations to do that, then it's almost better to do it this way.
Yeah. That's why I prefer doing it, with a non-sequencer, because you never know. Your production may drop off. And you have a bunch of sequenced components. You just. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad, but still.
The other thing too is people, when you're buying for a particular product, you buy enough components or extra components. If you run those sequences, you can load them on the inserter at any time, pretty much, and then shelve the other parts until that came up. Let's say you're only running 50 boards a month. You could run your sequences to cover 6 months
Right.
and not have to deal with setting up the machine again.
Right.
And then just take those reels in as you need them and see
Yeah.
them. So there's, you know, it's. This I don't know, what do you have for a wave solder?
Oh, a New Era Junior.
Oh, a junior.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, I saw
actually,
that.
another
Ultra
technical
pack.
device over there. Technical device is going to get a little unit over here.
Yeah, that's huge.
This is our smallest one right now.
Oh, yeah?
An older, just a very simple unit.
Uh-huh.
With a 10-inch pallet type as opposed to finger type.
Right.
And we got this, the New Era M2 over here.
Oh, yeah.
And GSM pick and place.
Yeah. Yeah, those, like I said, I was talking about the, pick and place machine, just how you, because I'm sure a pick and place could do those square LEDs. It's just a matter of.
Yeah. Well, I
loading.
think it's most likely how they're doing them now. Cuts the middle lead, and then it cuts in, and actually this pulls it back out
Right.
over top of this cutter, and so it actually looks like a T when the leads are cut for it either pulls a 5mm part, both outside leads out, or a 3-leaded radial part, and one goes off to the end and 2 out. The other end style, you either have the 2 outsides at opposite angles, which would end up with your LEDs. Well, either way, 100 or 200 thousandths, they end up in opposite directions on a 45. So this assembly would have to be changed out. Other than that, should be set to go.
Yeah, because I assume we'll need 2.5mm.
Right.
Rolling, 'cause
Right.
they're
Well,
gonna
see, if we change that, you could do 2.5 or 5.
Okay.
So so whatever you end up running into, you'll
Great.
be able to handle.
Huh. Decent shape. Huh. Now, how do you? How's programming facilitated or on this machine?
You'd need a computer or some sort of PC
Uh-huh.
to hook up to the machine.
Okay.
Where's the cable, the terminal cable.
All right.
You can make the programs on the machine, or you can make them offline.
Yeah.
If
you have the coordinate information, you can make them offline, or you can. They have. In fact, we have some up there. They have what they call a program generator. That's a table that this board actually sets on. And it has a mechanical probe, and you can go around and probe the holes and make the patterns that way. If you're a subcontract shop and you're constantly faced with boards that you don't have much footage on, those are very helpful.
Yeah, I bet.
If you have your own product and you know what it is, it's kind of meaningless. You know where the holes are, so you can just make a program offline.
Yeah, cool.
But then on the PC, you could it allows you to communicate to the machine to either load in a different program or modify the program.
Standard serial port, or
Yeah, they have there's a terminal emulation. Well, there's several different ones. Universal makes a couple of them. The terminal emulation package from the old days, it kind of emulates an old teletype, but basically, but it's a nice 600 baud serial port. But for all intents and purposes, that's what it does. So with a PC, you can store them on disk, share patterns on disk.
well, that'd be the way to go right there. That's what I wanted. That's what I actually want to do with my Amistar. It has a floppy drive built into it, but I actually want to port it and hook it up to a PC. So I can just store everything on a hard drive and just download a new program. If we want to change the board or whatever.
Yeah.
Step from the automatic is different lead formings to trim leads for radial parts, dip lead trimmers and formers, axial trimmers and formers.
Yeah. I was looking at one of these at another place I was visiting, and one of them, actually has a slide for ICs, and that square LED actually fits right down that slide.
Oh, to form the leads or trim them?
Yeah,
well,
I don't know
it's
what
probably
it was.
like one of these.
It was similar to one of these.
This actually, this one forms the leads, and those actually, that's a trimmer there.
Yeah. It was this right here. It's the same width. See, if you take this and the this little track up here and slide that LED, it slides down on its belly just fine.
Right.
The spacing's just right on it.
And but that one trims them off. And you trim them down some, or?
Well, no, I was just at this
just
other
a
place.
track-wise.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Right,
Yes.
right. Then other miscellaneous.
Yeah, and the other guy asked, didn't know anything about how the hell this was done either.
Yeah.
In fact, nobody's known anything they're taught to.
Right. Shouldn't be all that hard of a thing. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of,
That's what I've been thinking. There's potential in it, because
Yeah.
if they have this package is obviously here to stay. It's
Right,
about
right.
5
Well,
years
that's
old
why I was
now.
asking. Is
Yeah.
that something that's going to be kicking around?
Yeah, it's about 5 years old now since they first introduced it. And Hewlett Packard was the one that originated it. Of course, they formed a joint merger between Philips Lighting and Hewlett Packard and
okay.
started Lumileds. So Lumileds is the one doing it now.
Oh,
So,
is that right?
Yeah. So,
Huh.
but Hewlett Packard doesn't. They still make the T1 3/4 LEDs, but they don't make the 7.62 millimeter package anymore. Because that's handled by the joint venture now. So, they're the only ones that sell it. But then again, other LED makers are all falling on the bandwagon. Toshiba makes one. In fact, those are probably Toshiba components in there.
Is that right?
And then that one you had, I don't know who that is. That's another company. I've seen a couple of other companies that make that package. So,
well, that's interesting. That's definitely interesting.
yeah. What else you got? Your shelves down there.
Back in here is more spare parts and so
Oh, yeah.
forth. These are line loaders where you would have a surface mount line. You'd load up a cassette of boards on it, and if you wanted to, like with a pick and place machine, if you wanted just a continual flow, and rather than have an operator loading boards,
Yeah, no, I almost wish
this holds about a 4 or 5.
Just wish they had one for these.
This thing's a pad printer. I don't know if you get into any printing applications, but for odd-shaped surfaces. I don't know if you've seen these before, but they, basically it can come down and you would ink a pad, and then it would conform if you feel that it's like a silicone.
Oh yeah.
So any material, anything that's odd shaped or round, it can come down and pick up ink off a pad. It comes out, squeegees on the ink,
That's
and then they demo them at the shows a lot of times. They'll put markings on ping pong balls or golf balls. Or, I mean, when they get in mass production for that type of product, you'll have banks of these that'll be stamping continuously. But this is just an individual stamp pad and print pad. That, get into any applications like that.
Well, I am kind of looking for a like a laser marker or something like that, so I start putting serial numbers on the boards.
I have run into some laser markers before. And this riveter.
Oh yeah.
Riveting type machine for pedestal base. This one is set up for. It'll take I think this is eighth inch diameter, but then it'll take different lengths depending on this. If you went to a different diameter, you'd have to get tooled a little bit differently. Use the same unit, but get different tooling for it. A couple of the radio modules, if you want to expand on that. These are just modules for the sequencers.
Oh yeah.
Rather than those were the front ends out there, and these are extra modules. And then back in here we call spare parts inventory.
Yeah,
All on a database.
A lot of universal equipment. Wow. That must be a telescope service area. Huh. Okay, I assume this is working.